Hey guys, I just wanted to say before we get into the podcast today that our sponsor this month is returning, Figurosity.com. If you're into drawing and you need some models to work from, these are 3D generated computer models of different genders and sizes of people. You can turn them, you can change the lighting, and it's a great website with lots of options. So if you go to Figurosity.com, you can sign up, and using the coupon code Anatomy101, you get $5 off, which equals to about a free month. And it's a great artist tool, and a great way to practice. You can even kind of set up a series of drawings, so kind of a timed drawing type thing. And it's very similar to our figure drawing groups. That's why they like to sponsor us, and we love to have them as sponsors again and again. So thank you again to Figurosity.com, and that is coupon code Anatomy101. So now let's get into the podcast. Welcome back, Inebri-arts. This is Andy of the Inebri-art podcast. We are back at the Craft Beer Cellar on Main Street in Plymouth. If you happen to be looking for craft beer, this is your place to go. And they also have boutique wines. So if you're a wine drinker, hell, they even have alcoholic coffee now, if that's your thing. Check it out if you're in Plymouth. And so we've been asked to run these art fairs by Celebrate Greater Plymouth this past summer. And not with mixed results, with mixed weather. So we've had to cancel a couple. And one of the artists that reached out to us is today's guest, Maryssa Caseau. Sweet. Do I get a gold starfish? I got it right. No? Doesn't care. Never happens. So you reached out to us a while ago, and I figured we'd invite you in for a podcast to just talk about art and whatever. So what style of art, how would you describe your art? What medium do you work in? So kind of tell us, the basics of how you got started.
All right, yeah. So I will start by saying I use acrylic paint, usually on canvas or wood canvas. I would say my style is expressionist. It's bright, very. It makes you feel something. It's less of an impression, more of a. Sometimes I wouldn't say I'm a beginner. I would say I'm a little far beyond that, but I would say that I'm still experimenting with styles.
Yeah.
So when it comes to what I do, it switches around here and there. So I'm always experimenting, but I always know that one thing that stays the same is the color that I use. It's very bright.
Your stuff is very vivid. And,
Yeah, and it's mostly, something that makes you try to think about it and kind of interpret it your own way.
Yeah.
But it's not measured out in any way. It's not perfect.
So when you start a piece, do you go in with kind of like a bunch of sketches ahead of time, or do you just kind of go more off the cuff?
I just go off the cuff, whatever comes to my mind. I'll make a drawing of it first and put it down. But sometimes even that changes. So sometimes I'll just go in and I don't plan it at all.
Yeah. and is there like a specific subject matter? Because and my memory's not phenomenal, but it's not abstract. It's more.
I mean, yeah, it's not exactly abstract because I do use certain dimensions. I try to make it realistic, but it's almost, I've heard people say, not realistic, but cartoony almost, and realistic at the same time.
Kind of like a, it kind of reminds me of kind of like Matisse.
Yeah. Right. I've heard people say my work looks like caricatures when I do people.
Yeah.
Because it's not perfect, there are imperfections. I don't always measure bodies. I just paint them. I don't think about it too much. I don't, because I'm in art class for the first time this year, taking art classes. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, so I've been self-taught my whole life, and I switched out of science and I'm in art now, and I'm learning they really want you to take long hours to measure before you start to paint.
Yeah.
And that's something I've been working on because I don't have such high patience. I kind of work pretty fast.
Right.
So that's why I like acrylics.
So you switched from like a science, was it a major?
Yes, it was a science major. I wanted to be a marine biologist.
I feel like you're the second or third like painter we've had on that switched from, I'm trying to remember who the other one was. Do you remember who that was? Am I having deja vu? Research will look that up.
Yeah, there's an art in science.
I feel like it's somewhat a similar thought pattern because it's not, as much as it's expressing and kind of emotional and getting it out there, you're still, especially when it comes to like the human form, it's all about
exactly, anatomy and.
Did you figure it out?
Yeah, it's Kelsey.
Becker? Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about her. Yeah. I was gonna say, I feel
Another
like I
science
just had
nerd.
this. Yeah, she got a degree in science and then went to printmaking.
Yeah. See, I didn't get. I was working on the degree, but I realized I didn't want to waste any more time.
So what was there like one thing that like made you switch?
I think it was the lack of passion. I had passion as a child for animals and sea creatures. I dreamt of researching whales, but I think it was the skill level that I have with my art outweighed the passion I had for science.
Yeah.
So I think after a chemistry class, I threw the towel in. I switched it up.
Like I love science and history and things like that, but like I'm just not a good student.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been in school for a long time trying to get these degrees, but I would take time off and travel, and all I want to do is paint. Every time I would sit in class, I would say, I could be painting right now. I could be making, a living doing what I actually like to do, what I'm actually good at doing. So, and I never wanted to give in to that almost because it was...
Were you kind of concerned being like, is it possible to make a living? Was that kind of that
right.
whole... Well, it's only worth money if you're dead
artist.
kind of thing.
Yeah, because my sister's also an artist, and she never wanted to. She always wanted to make art. That's how she wanted to work. So, but I would see her struggling, so it always kind of made me wary of making that change. But I have more confidence in myself now, more than ever.
Nice. And do you remember the first piece you sold? I'm assuming you've sold one.
Yes. The first piece I sold was... It was 3 wood canvases put together to make one landscape. Mm-hmm. It was a landscape. Someone sent me a picture of Colorado mountain that they had taken, and they wanted me to kind of recreate it. And I recreated it a lot different than the picture.
Yeah.
It was kind of an abstract landscape, but I always add a big face in the sky. Yeah. Because landscapes are cool, but I try to make them more interesting, put an animal in there, a face, to shake it up.
I'm always impressed with people that can do stuff that is incredibly photorealistic, but at the same point I'm like, I can just look at the photo.
Yeah, right.
I feel like the part of it is making it your own, interpreting it in some way,
right?
Adding or subtracting something. So you were in school for art. Like, what's the most challenging part of that?
I would say that first, when I got into a drawing class, the challenging part is that I have my own. I've been drawing since I was a child, since I was 5 years old, and I know I have my own way of doing things.
Yep.
So when they're very specific about the rules,
the
measurements and especially portraits, mm-hmm. I'm not good with rules. So I struggle a little bit to go with the rules, and sometimes I just won't because and at the end of the day, it's not a bad thing if you kind of know how it's supposed to be and choose not to do it.
Exactly. You have to learn the rules so you know when to break them.
Right.
Or you're breaking them consciously and not just like, right. I didn't know.
Right. But I think that's what it is. It's the measurement, the rulers, the time it takes to do that specific, all the line work it's supposed to be a certain way. And when you draw from a picture and you mess up, you need to erase it. It's paint, you can paint over it, you know?
Yeah.
It's a lot more fluid, literally.
Right.
So you have more freedom.
It's funny, like I used to draw in graphite almost exclusively, and I feel like I got better when I stopped, and so I draw in mostly like pen and ink now because I don't have that option to go back and fix it. So I'm not second guessing myself. I'm not like trying to redraw the jaw line over and over and over and over again. I'm just like, yeah, okay, that's as close as I'm going to get this time. And
yeah, see, I always used pencil starting out. As growing up in my youth, I always drew with pencil.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think most people do. It seems to be
pen.
Because you have that option to erase.
Yeah, people draw with pen, and I'm like, wow, that's you have a lot of willpower, and so. But.
So, one thing I remember when I started art school, I'm curious if you had a similar thing, because you talk about the rules that they give you. I remember our first figure drawing class, they had like the stools with easels on them, and they had regular easels, and that's it. Those were your two options.
Yes.
And everyone's like, oh, I need a table. And the teacher's like, we don't do that. And they're like, no, I draw on it. And like every single student was like, no, I draw on a table.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's not how you're going to draw. And your drawings get better almost instantly because you're not drawing on a flat surface, because you end up, there's all sorts of problems with foreshortening and stuff like that. Did you kind of have that same experience?
I actually haven't. See, he always had us draw from the table.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he would have a still life in the middle of the room, and based on wherever we were sitting, we would draw from where we were sitting, and he would have us use a pencil to measure.
Yeah.
So we would stick our arm out, measure the pencil, and based on the object, and then increase that 3 times, then put it on the paper.
Yeah, I've never been one, and I see people do it all the time. I'm like, I've just never been, like, I'm more eyeball.
You're never going to see me stick out my pencil when I'm at home.
People do it all the time. I see it regularly, and I'm just, I don't know, I've never been that person. I kind of just eyeball it the best I can. And some of the drawings I do look like I eyeball it the best I can.
Yeah. But some I can fake it, until I make it. And I'm like, yeah, totally use the pencil in that one. There's no difference.
So do you enjoy doing still lifes more, or?
So I would say that's another thing that I didn't really enjoy much in art class was the objects that he had us draw and work on. For instance, a TV or a table or a pot, a salt shaker, a cup. Very boring.
Yeah.
Very boring. I like still lifes, but when I do still lifes, I do things that are sometimes, what's the word? Like, for instance, a bong or a gun or something that is like, wow, that's
a little more charged.
Much. Yeah. Not just like a flowers within a vase. I've seen that so many times. But if you see, my sunglasses with a beer and a dab pen or something that's a little bit, questionable, you look at it, you think about it for a second, you're like, wow, how do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable looking at it?
Right.
Or,
and I think as much as someone can see, a vase of flowers and be moved by its beauty, seeing something
that's
jarring,
beautiful.
Something can elicit, that's kind of part of what art is eliciting a response of some kind. And even if someone hates it, it's still a response.
Yeah, exactly. Something that's not foreseen as beautiful regularly, but can be made into a piece of art just because it is.
Do you get a lot of heat because of the type of stuff that?
Well, I actually haven't really started uploading those yet.
Yeah.
So,
well, ignore on the internet. The internet's just a cesspool of hatred.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I wouldn't care either way, but I think once I get into more shows and start creating things based on the customer base of where those shows are. I have a show coming up in Somerville, and those, that customer base is a little different than Plymouth. So I'll be making different types of pieces for that, and I'm excited to see what the reaction will be.
So I'm trying to. I don't even know if I've ever been, or last time I've been to Somerville.
It's a different crowd than Plymouth, I would say.
Have we been to Somerville?
Isn't that where Thunder Road is?
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we've been there not that long ago. Never mind.
Yeah, it's not too... it's not too far off.
Yeah, we interviewed people there. I wasn't even thinking. But yeah, that's more inner city... Not inner city, but more metropolitan area. So
I think it's a younger crowd, especially where I'm going to be at. It's going to be at a music venue. So just knowing that, there's going to be more, open-mindedness.
Is this your first hanging?
Yeah. So that would be it. And then the Plymouth one is on the 5th. Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be the second.
Are you nervous?
I'm more nervous because I have yet to have a website and business cards.
You definitely want business cards.
So I need, I need to kind of get that rolling. I need certain elements to create the representation, like grid walls. And I have a table and, a tent for if it was outside. That's really all I'd be nervous about, though.
Yeah.
Is just, needing those things.
So you're not so nervous about people's reactions or people's responses?
No, because I think that it would be positive.
Nice.
I think that it would be successful.
So what is your earliest memory of being in... what was it? What was the spark that got you into art? Well, you said your sister's an artist, too.
Yeah,
Is it do you come from an artist family?
So if we could start with that. I come from a family of artists. My grandfather is I would say a professional oil painter. He paints city landscapes and Venice and Italy. Yep. And my father he's a portrait artist. So he uses graphite and lead and makes extremely photorealistic pictures of musicians.
When you decided to go into science, were they like, no daughter of mine's going to be a scientist?
Actually, they were really proud of me. They supported me all throughout that venture of me trying. But they also knew one day that I think they knew that I'm meant to be an artist. Yeah. Because it's just how my entire family is.
Do you think there's a higher standard, more pressure maybe?
You mean more pressure to become an artist?
No, just in general. Do you feel you have to live up to the family name, that kind of thing? Do you feel pressure, not necessarily from them, but
I mean,
to carry the torch, kind of?
I wouldn't say that it's pressure. I feel like it's almost a privilege to have those qualities in my family, and I wouldn't be worried. Personally, I wouldn't be worried, to drop the torch. I feel like I have all of their talent that they've given to me, and I can't drop it. You can't really get rid of that talent, and I think if anyone should carry that torch, it should be me. So I'm not worried about it, actually. Sometimes I do, give into the stress of finances and
that's normal.
What's my next step? Yeah. I need to do all these things. I need all this money to get all these things, all these murals, and it gets overwhelming because, being a kind of a beginner
right.
Is overwhelming, but there's so much support in the art world. It's insane.
And that's part of what we've found here in Plymouth is it's just an amazingly supportive community. And
I see that.
Yeah, and everyone is just, sure, you want to do something? Great, let's do that.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun. What is, do you have, that kind of bucket list, that big dream? Do you want to paint a mural somewhere?
Yeah.
Do you want to design an album cover? What's the...
I see myself working with companies that can supply hotels and restaurants with fine art designs for larger buildings.
Yeah.
Not architecture, but
when you walk
fine
through
art that's in those
lobby
important
and
places.
A 6 foot by 8 foot painting, that kind of thing.
That's what I want to do. And my professor actually does that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have pretty good confidence with myself making connections. That's like obviously a huge component to building an art business, is being able to work with people.
Right.
So thankfully, last 10 years of my life, I've been in customer service, working with people.
Oh, God, I'm so sorry.
It's made me a better person.
You wait tables, right?
I do, yeah. So now I'm a server. Before that, I was just straight
regular
customer service.
Ugh,
yeah.
I feel your pain. I've been there.
Makes me stronger.
Yeah, it makes you be able to put up with a lot of shit.
Thicker skin.
Yeah. But, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's like a super important thing, and I don't think that art schools really focus on it or teach it much at all, that marketing yourself
networking,
and networking and, I know some phenomenal artists that are just very shy and kind of reserved, and it's like, get out there, man. Like,
or at least delegate someone to get out there for you.
Yeah, exactly. Hire
know?
some. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, if you,
no
if that's
hire
an
anybody,
option,
right? Yeah, but yeah,
advertising.
It's tough to kind of. I mean, I'm the first one to say I generally don't like my own work.
Every artist will say that,
right? But then you have
I generally
to try
don't
and
like mine either.
somehow sell the thing that you don't like.
Yeah,
people are like, I love this, and you're like,
it could be so much better.
No.
Yeah,
look at that one over there. That's way better.
Yeah.
Is that something that you struggle with? That kind of
definitely. Well, even often when I'm working on something in my room, and my sister will come in and critique it and say, you should change this, and I will take her word for it, and I'll take people's word for any type of flaws they might see, because it's it's honest feedback. But at the end of the day, I'll do what I do, and I'll bring it to her, and I'll say, if there's any mistakes you see, I did it on purpose. So at some point, it is what it is, and I kind of, when I love something that I create, it gives me so much fuel to keep creating, and at some point I have to just look at it and be like, this is pretty good. Like, this is pretty damn good.
Do you feel, I'm wondering if it's an advantage, because I feel like if you were, I don't want to say a normal person, but a person who does not come from an artist family, and you bring in your latest painting to your mom, who's a nurse, and your dad, who is a garbage man, and they're going to look at it and be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But where you come from a family of artists, you're going to get actual constructive criticism. Do you feel that's an advantage?
Oh,
do you feel it's...
Definitely.
Are there some days where you'd be like, just say it's nice?
Yeah, no, I love criticism, and I love feedback. I always want to know what you think about what I'm doing. And I'll take it with a grain of salt at the end of the day. But when my sister gives me feedback, I take that feedback more than if my friend...
Right.
that doesn't make art gives me. My father, I feel like he would always tell me that it's amazing.
Yeah.
But my sister, she will tell you if
it's
wrong. Yeah. Or my grandfather, he'll be like super happy about it. He won't say anything wrong about it. But yeah, I think it's my sister that pushes me the most.
Yeah.
Because she judges me, and it's she tells me about myself.
Now, do you do the same to her?
Yeah, I do.
Are you older or younger?
She's older.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's older, 3 years older than me, so I've taken a lot of my inspiration from her.
Do you have similar styles, or?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we go out together, we'll look at each other and we're wearing the same exact outfit. Yeah. Someone has to change. And it's her.
And so you said you work in acrylic. Do you, when you're in school, they tend to get you to try other things and like even sculpting or photography or whatever. Are you more resistant to that sort of thing?
Definitely.
Do you kind of like?
Definitely. I'm like, yeah, no.
So you just like to be in your...
I like my acrylic on my canvas.
Yeah.
So if they say you should get the paper canvas, I will never do that. I would rather fail a class, which I wouldn't, but I would say that when I go to a class, in my next class that's starting soon, they're going to have me create specific types of work.
Yeah.
But he's going to let us use acrylic.
Okay.
So I haven't yet been in a class where they've had me use a different medium. So
was
I
not
guess
a
we'll
fan of
just
oil
see.
paint.
I started with oil.
Yeah.
Before I started painting, I had just oil, and I really didn't like the way it dried. It wasn't glossy; it was cracked. You know, and when you go to museums, you see all of the old paintings, the famous paintings. They're all oil.
Yeah.
Well, because acrylic wasn't invented yet. But if you look and see the cracks in the way it dries, I don't like it. I like the way that acrylic dries, and you can feel it, and it's thick and glossy. Yeah. So I don't think I'm ever going to change.
I just felt like my colors were muddy, regardless of what. And it was probably because of the drying time that it always got muddy, and it never looked like I liked the crisp. You know, I wanted a crisp color, which I mean that's kind of if you're doing like a portrait, it's easy to kind of blend with oil, but when you use acrylic, you get a different feeling when you finish a painting than if you were to look at an oil portrait or an acrylic portrait. The acrylic portrait is going to it's going to kind of put you in a little different world because oil is more realistic. It comes out more realistic. Do you go real heavy on it, like kind of like a palette brush kind of thing?
Sometimes I'll use
palette knife. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes. Yeah. So sometimes I'll use. They call it impasto. It's really, really thick acrylic. Yeah. And you can even mix it and make it really, really pasty with I forget what it's like, just a molding paste. Mm-hmm. And I love when it's super, super thick. When
almost gives it like a sculptural type. What's the word? Texture.
Yeah. Because when you touch it, it's there. It's real. You just made something. You just made a flower or something. Yeah. And I think when I start my first mural, I think it's 4 by 6 feet. I'm gonna need a lot of paint because I'm gonna make that stuff come right off the wood. So
is this a mural that's going to be fixed to a wall, like permanently, or is
it's a giant piece of wood.
So it's 4 by 6.
Yes.
Is this a assignment or is this just
no? This is just I came across a giant piece of wood, and I've been sitting on the idea of I don't know what to paint on it. It's been flowing through my mind. Everyone asks me what I'm going to put on it, and I have so many different visions for it. But all I know is that I'm going to need a lot of paint.
Yeah, that's a huge surface.
Yeah.
So that is kind of always the trick, is art supplies aren't cheap.
Yeah.
Has that been a big struggle, or is it kind of like, hey, Dad, I'm just going to borrow this paint?
You know what? I've come across so many different supplies from people in my life for different occasions, Christmas, birthdays. They go to Michael's for me.
Yeah.
I get Michael's gift cards every year. So I find a way to get what I need. Somehow canvases are gifted to me and they last. I'll reuse canvases a billion times if I don't like what I do. But I also work for 2 paint companies, and they are very, very helpful with giving me supplies. So they'll give me free canvases and paint if I really needed it.
Yeah.
One of those companies is Muse Paint Bar. So I just started working for them in July.
Yeah.
And I'm an assistant right now. I'm not an instructor yet.
So you just kind of hover and help people if they get stuck?
Yeah, and I clean up and do all the, I'm
work.
Not up there yet. But I also work with, it's called the Traveling Art Party, with a woman named Claire. She has it's her own small business, and she travels around, and she'll have me get all the supplies at her house and then go to the event, and I am the instructor there. So
how do
I enjoy that.
How do you enjoy teaching people, and is it different teaching people sober? And because I'm assuming if it's a party, some people may be drinking.
Yes. So I do all ages. Sometimes it's kids' birthdays, and I'll be teaching 6 kids how to paint a flower. Or sometimes it's an older crowd, and they're no, they drink a lot of OJ. No, the adults usually they're not bad. They don't drink too much, but that's with the Traveling Art Party. Those are more private events, and they're, I think, more respectful that I'm the only one there, and But when I'm at Muse, where it's more of a corporate setting, and the people have an open bar. Well, sometimes they have a free drink, but they'll come to the bar, and this one woman, she was really, really lit, and I was trying to teach her how to paint this pumpkin, and she kind of at one point just gave up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't do it for you. I mean, you signed up for this. I can help you. I can outline it, and you can finish it, but...
I used to... We ran many of those, actually, and I just remember there was one woman that was... we took a break because, you had that break to kind of let stuff dry, and came back, and she was just annihilated.
Oh, yeah.
And she couldn't hold more than one instruction in her head at a time, and it just got really...
She would just look at me like, help me. Yeah. And I'm like... And then she'd ask me for another glass of wine. I'm like, are we allowed to cut people off? I don't know. I'm the assistant, so... Yeah. But it hasn't happened to me that much where it's been a problem.
The thing that I found the most difficult to work with was the people that were so intimidated that they would just kind of freeze.
Yeah, they would not try.
Yeah. I'd be like, I can't do this. I'd be like, well, you can't because your brush isn't even... You got to touch your brush to the canvas. Mm-hmm.
That's
Step one.
One thing that frustrates... it does frustrate me a little bit. I try to have utmost patience for those types of people.
Yeah.
And give them all of my, you can do this,
right.
All my...
From the instructor side, it's also... That's the speed at which the class can then travel is...
Yeah.
That person that you have to kind of, help along. And
well, you know what? At Muse, they don't really wait for you.
Oh, really?
No.
No.
That's what the assistant's for. Because if you're lagging, I'm going to be there to help you and catch you up. Because they're not going to stop for someone.
Now, when you're teaching when you're teaching the other one,
mm-hmm.
Do you get to choose the painting? Is it something that you've painted? How does that work?
Sometimes it depends if that specific event chose a painting that my manager Claire, had them choose from. Sometimes the event will say, you choose, and then at that point, Claire tells me you can paint something for
great,
them.
Bongs and guns it is.
I love that. I know, I won't paint that for a 6-year-old birthday party, but I'll paint... at that point, the world's my oyster. I get really excited when I get to choose my own paintings, because when I show it to the class, and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. It's so much more rewarding. Then sometimes Muse, I'll go to work and we're painting the Minions, and I feel nothing. Yeah. So there's a difference between the two jobs. I love having more freedom, and I love being kind of the only one that knows what they're doing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you make these choices about what you're going to paint, what do you kind of go to? Because obviously you want... It's not necessarily what you want to paint.
Yeah, I think about the age. I think about the age and where I'm going. So I went to Boston and I did a landscape of the Citgo sign. Mm-hmm. And everyone knows what that is in Boston, so they loved that. It was a group for the Blue Cross Blue Shield work group. It was like a work party. Yeah. So that's what they chose to do. And if it's kids, I painted a caterpillar on a leaf with a flower for the kids. I go to retirement homes all the time, teach elderly people. Usually we'll do a sunset, a beach type thing for them.
Are kids or elderly people more challenging?
Oh, yeah. See, I would say elderly people because I should say seniors.
Yeah.
Because they're so hard on themselves. They're I've lived so long and I should know how to do this.
See, I figured it was going to be that they're more set in their way or they don't want to listen to someone younger than them.
Well, I think that, at some point they're excited that they're hanging out with someone younger and they're doing something fun. Mm-hmm. I think it's just that they are set in their ways where they're like, I'm not a painter, I don't know what I'm doing. And then they judge themselves so hard, they hate what they're doing. Yeah. And you're like, what you did was actually pretty cool. You did an abstract thing. You should step back and look at it and realize that you just did that. Kids, they'll sit there and they'll look at their friend and be like, did you see this? Mine is so awesome. And I love that about kids. They don't care at all. They're like, mine's so good. And
it's we talked about earlier, we do it to our own work, but I've seen so many people being pissed at what they did and be
Yeah.
like, why are you mad? That's
I
fun.
know.
Well, it doesn't look like theirs. I'm like, it's not.
Yeah,
It's not
I mean,
about
it's almost
looking
the
the
grass
same.
is always greener on the other side. You always
Yeah.
want what you don't have. Like my type of art that I create, another artist might look at it and be like, I wish I, could do something like that. When I look at hundreds of other artists and I'm like, oh my God, I want to try to do that. That's really cool. And I try not to like copy other artists, but I learn a lot of different skills from other artists.
Yeah,
So.
and I mean, a lot of times they have you, like in schools, they have you copy other artists
Yeah.
just to kind of learn
Just-
what it was that they were doing.
That's almost what I'm at the point where I'm at right now is like, that's what I mean by experimenting. I see
Yeah.
one thing I like and I'm like, I'm going to try to recreate that and see if
Right.
I can do that. And I try not to think, what is this plagiarizing? Like,
Yeah, it's fine as long as you're not passing it off as your own.
yeah, right.
know,
as long as you say this is based off and
Yeah,
inspired by
I
this
was
artist.
doing a study, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and
Right.
Cite
Cite your work.
This is my painting, Starry Night.
Yes.
And they added a little scream guy in there because why not?
Yeah, right.
What artists do you kind of take influence from?
You know what? I love there's artists that I follow on Instagram and I could not tell you that I remember their names,
Yeah.
but I wish I could like look it up right now. I should have did my research on their names.
Oh, it's all right.
There's specific work that I find that's similar to how I do things, but there's one girl on Instagram and it's her page is called Not Sorry Art, and I can't remember her name, but she taught me almost this really cool thing. You take a wood canvas and you paint it red behind, and then you start the entire
Yep.
painting process. And it's changed like my life, the way that she does it, and I picked it up a little bit, and it's changed the color scheme of how I do things, and I'm almost more excited when I learn new skills from other artists to start again, because when I get plateaued with my own work,
Yeah.
it gets boring, and I don't want to pick it up because I'm like, I'm going to keep doing the same things. It's almost boring.
Yeah.
So I always go on Instagram. That's where I go all the time.
Not Sorry Art.
Yes.
Is there a reason why she calls it Not Sorry Art?
I don't know why she's not sorry because, well, she shouldn't be sorry, but her art isn't. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's something that I want to kind of hit that level
Yeah.
because she's pretty incredible.
It made me think of an artist. I think his name is Phil Henson. I may be butchering that.
See, I'm so bad with names.
Horrible.
So
I
bad.
got your name right. I got your
You
name
did.
right. That's the only important one today. But he does goodbye art. So it's art that after a certain amount of time will no longer exist. So he made a portrait of Amy Winehouse out of frozen wine,
Oh.
and then it just melts and goes away.
Oh, is that? It's just like the painting that was made of paper and got shredded after a while.
Oh, that was Banksy. Yeah.
Yeah, Banksy,
Yeah,
yes.
that was.
He does those things
Yeah,
too.
he does, but I think Banksy did it as a fuck you to the establishment, being
Yeah,
like,
political
"Oh, you spent all
shit.
this money, and I'm going to shred it,
Yeah.
and now it's worth more." You know? It's,
Yeah.
He's one of those people who just can't. Like, he's trying to rebel against the system, but the
I
system
know.
is too much in love with him.
I know.
Yeah.
His movements are insane. I love them.
I remember he did he was in New York probably maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and of course no one knew until he was done. And he did a bunch of paintings and had someone sit in Central Park and try to sell them for $60, and they sold 3. And they're estimating that these paintings, like on the open market, would go for like 10 grand. And one woman who bought 2 actually talked them down to $50 a piece. And his whole point was like, it's not you're buying my name, not my work.
Right.
You know, I think his stuff's amazing.
Wow. Yeah. See, that's why sometimes I hear people say, I make pet portraits.
Mm-hmm.
Those sell great.
Yeah,
I
I know so many people that do pet
Yeah.
portraits because they're like, yeah, they sell.
They sell.
Yeah.
That's easy. So I do like 16 by 20 canvas, and I'll sell them for like $80.
Yeah.
So it's not that expensive. And I've had people say, $80, aren't you a beginner? And
but it's one of those things. It's like, I know so many artists that get like really angry about it, but it's more just a lack of someone sitting down and actually thinking about it.
Yeah,
because you're like, it's $80. Okay, it's $20 in material.
Yeah,
at best.
Right,
if not more. And then it took me 40 hours to paint it.
Right.
If you get paid $80 for a week's worth of work, you'd shoot yourself. Like,
right.
And it's just no one's ever kind of like broken it down that way.
Yep. And the more paint on the canvas, the more layers.
Yep.
That's more money.
Exactly.
Paint equals money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So.
I gotta find out. I quote this person a bunch of times, and I don't actually know who said it. But there was an artist, when people ask like, "How long did this take you to do?" He'd give his age, because it's all the years that you learned to be able to do what it is that you did.
Yeah.
So even if it took you a week, it still took you your
me
whole
25
lifetime
years to do this, bro.
Yeah. And they'd be like, "Wait, how old are you?"
48.
So you're going to be at our October art on the Green Art Stroll. We're still kind of working it.
Yeah.
We're working out some details.
It's gonna be a stroll.
Yeah, I think we might have some green space worked out.
Okay.
So you may want to get a tent and some grid wall.
Yeah.
But are you looking forward? Like, what are you expecting? Like,
I mean, I've been to these walking art events outside, and some of them are really, really impressive. I'm not quite there yet, and I'm okay with it. I think I'll just be looking around a lot in awe and envy at how far certain artists have gone, but I have to remember that this is almost year one for me,
right.
Where I'm starting this journey, and I'm, I need to be patient with myself and know that I'll collect as much as I can
patient
for decoration.
With yourself. I gotta figure that out.
Yeah, patience with myself. Yeah, it's huge. But I'll get there. I just have to, know that things are temporary. My setup will be temporary, and I'll have more of a professional look.
Yeah,
at some point.
It's one of those things that it's kind of a whole process. You kind of start small and
yep.
get add stuff here, add stuff there, add some easels, whatever.
Yep.
Be wary of wind. That's always a big issue, especially for canvases.
Yeah. I have certain easels that hold the canvas in, but falling.
Right, but then they take the whole easel with it.
Yeah, someone gets hurt.
Yeah, so hopefully, like I said, it's been kind of a mixed bag this year with the weather, but hopefully October will be done. I think it could be a really good day. It's going to be the same day as the Plymouth Center for the Arts art stroll, so hopefully we'll get some carryover from there. Nice. So I'm actually looking forward to it being a good day.
Yeah.
And Plymouth is just a great town, and I was the one that we've actually managed to pull off because of the weather was on our side. The day was fantastic.
Yeah.
Great group of artists, great crowd, lots of dogs. I love dogs.
Yeah, dogs.
Yeah, and so we're hoping for the weather to be on our side. It has not been so far this year, but yeah.
Hopefully there's good luck in October. Spooky season is coming. It's a good time.
It's the best time.
It is the best time.
And it won't be too hot. It was pretty warm last time. So
yeah.
So you said you didn't have a website.
No, I do not.
But where can people go online? You have to have some sort of social media something?
Yeah, you can find my Instagram. Even if you don't have an Instagram, you can still view mine. It's Art by Maryssa at Instagram.com. And I also have a Facebook page, Art by Maryssa on Facebook. Similar content. But I'm always creating more things and so much more to come, especially now that I have 2 art shows coming up. And you'll see some interesting content soon. Something a little different than what I usually post.
Nice.
So
We also have another art show coming up in October that we'll have to let you know about.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I'm excited to see what you got, and
thank you.
It'll be a good time. It'll be a good day, hopefully, and
yep. Appreciate it.
Learning experience for everybody, because like I said, this is our first summer doing it. So
yeah, I'll be right there with you then.
Perfect. Awesome. So thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
any whatever. Any parting words?
Well, I appreciate it. It was my first personal podcast, and I'm diving into things blind, and I just appreciate all the support that I've had this last few years of me coming up into something completely different in my life, and I'm going to take it by the horns. So.
Nice. And if it's got to be a good omen that I didn't screw up your name, so
yes,
that's gotta be a good omen.
appreciate Maryssa Caseau.
Yeah,
Yep.
There you go. So check her out online, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for checking out the podcast. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network. There's the Bar Talk. There's Old Colony Cast. There's, of course, the Inebri-art Podcast. And our latest, Retro Redoctopus, a kind of nerd genre podcast that you can check out now, all available on our website at inebri-art.com. And pretty much available everywhere that podcasts are available, on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, all those things. And if you don't see it where you're looking, let us know. We'll try to get onto that as well. And you can also email us at inebri-art@yahoo.com with your questions, complaints, and suggestions. And also, if you could take the time to rate and review us on iTunes, that would be phenomenal. That helps us get more exposure and bring more of these great podcasts to your ears. And thanks again for listening.